looked at what that really was. So with healing, I didn't recognize that I was a healer, and so someone else had to tell me. So it's in my conscious, but it's not in my ego realm. And I don't know if I'm doing my calling. I can't even, I don't know how to even articulate what I'm asking, if you can
Actually, you are, and you clarified for me. So there's two things I'm hearing. First of all, let's change the answered to answering. It is a constantly evolving state. There's no permanent place of, I've arrived. I'm finished. I'm complete. And you will, as I said before the break, you will find that you'll reach different levels of transformation. You'll reach a stride, you'll reach a balance, and then Spirit will take you to another level. Or you'll be challenged somewhere, which will kind of force you to another level. If there was a checklist, you hit the first 3 or 4 points on the list to identify Spirit speaking to you and is giving you something. To have people identify that Spirit is speaking and is giving you something. Not only as it relates to spiritual pursuits, but even financial and personal economic pursuits, which you didn't say that, but I think that's also a part of your question. Because, indeed, there's a saying in Voodoo, if God sends you, he will pay your fare. So you use the word ego. And I don't think it's about, it can be about ego when it's applied inappropriately. But once you surrender to Spirit and you understand that you have a responsibility to your ministry, and that not only includes reaching out, healing, touching souls, touching lives, but that also includes keeping the lights on and having your phone working so people can reach you at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I have many sisters within my community who are doulas, who assist in birthing and with pregnant women and pregnant mothers. Okay, so they have to have technology. Now, I do believe that some of our misprogramming, if I can use that word, comes from our culture and some of the demonstrations that we have seen in our culture, as well as a sort of a forced ideology, particularly as it relates to people of color, that who we are is not of value and what we have to offer is not of value, and that somehow it should be less than what the greater society offers. And we must begin to value our gifts for what they truly are. They're not only just a means of Spirit working through us and around us, but there are means for creating our livelihoods and our life patterns and who we are. There was a time in my own life, working the 9 to 5 and the overtime and trying to keep all the bills paid and all this other stuff and all the stresses that come along with that. And I don't know how long you've been listening, but I've talked about this before. You're on an artificial schedule. You're getting up artificially. You're eating artificially. Depending on the type of job that you have to do, you're going to the restroom on somebody else's schedule. So there's a direct conflict there with Spirit. So when people begin to move in a direction of Spirit, whether it's in spiritual vocations or even self-employment, self-business vocations, there's that conflict there about ego, about time, what I'm giving attention to. And my easiest answer to that is just surrender to Spirit.
Okay.
And I feel that in you. I hear that in your voice. And know that people will value what you value. And if you're not putting value on what Spirit has given you, I don't know how well you know the Bible, but there's a story in there about the talents. And there was one guy who buried his talents. And there was another guy that God had given talents, and he multiplied his talents. And ultimately, that was who God showed favor. So many of us are burying our talents to keep a job, to keep a career. And many of those things are not stable anymore. In many industries, save medicine maybe, or a few other, industries. Spirituality and religion are the two main areas that did not see a recession. And that includes holistic endeavors, healing, doulas, spiritualists, spiritual consultants. All of those areas are actually beginning to grow and to flourish, not just because people are under greater pressure and are seeking new and more inventive ways to address their ills, but also because it's time. All the world religions said there would be a time. We are in a state of coming, if you will, as far as the spirit realm is concerned. We've come full circle. So our ancestors are speaking to us again. Many of our lost, if you will, skills, talents, and abilities as humanity intermingled with divinity are coming back to surface now. It's coming out in our children, but it's also coming out in us, the 30s and the 40-somethings, So answer the call. Take what you do seriously. Know that it belongs to God and to the realm of spirit. So that should give you a more intense drive to be professional, to be expert, to cross all your T's and to dot all your I's, particularly in the realm of religion. That can only bring you profit. And when I use the word profit, I don't mean just financial profit. I mean within the community, within your community, and having people to support that and support you, but also in birthing others who will ultimately do what you do.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm very... You there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, you're so quiet. I had, I think it's going on 3 years now that I had a very strong divine connection of my masculine, feminine energy from within when they connected. I had a vision of it. Didn't know what it was. I thought it was my husband, but that wasn't the case. And I recognized them so strongly from within. I mean, very strong. And they are pretty much, I can feel the oneness between those two energies inside. It's like the twins flame. It's like one. I feel it. They're not. They're one and the same. And I see that outward a lot, and I feel it so. And sometimes sometimes this love is just I can't even express it.
And Adele, if I may, and I'm not going to digress because I could do a whole show on just what you just said. Anytime there's a move in spirit, there's a counter move, if you will, in this physical realm to block that understanding, to block that knowledge. So there's many reasons why we have all these challenges right now about what masculine is, about what feminine is, because it's also an attempt to keep people from truly connecting in the realm of spirit.
I got you.
Particularly when it comes to ancestral spirits. And it's a very individualized thing. And clearly, your fathers and your grandfathers speak strongly through you. You are the person that has been chosen to fulfill that role. So be open to it. If you haven't done so already, set up an ancestral altar. Gather all the pictures you can of the oldest people you can.
I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask you that. Oh my gosh. I was gonna ask. Didn't know how to ask. Didn't know if I should ask because I do need to know how to set up an altar. For whatever reason, that is so strong.
There are two altars that I suggest, particularly if you're not particularly initiated into any specific path, and that is your ancestral altar and a personal altar. Your ancestral altar
gosh.
wants to be representative of your family,
Okay.
your children, grandchildren, brothers, sisters, and more so the older people in your family. Gather obituaries. You'd be surprised the people in your family that have obituaries, particularly to family members that you may not know or know that well or have a direct connection to. We have many families now, and you don't necessarily have to be a broken family, but many of us have just lost connection to various branches of our family. And those ancestral spirits are still there. They just need to be fed. And often many of our creative juices and spiritual juices come just from those family members that we know the least about. My great-grandmother, my mother's mother's mother, came to me, who passed on long before I was born. But she gave me plenty of evidence that I was able to carry to my mother to validate the authenticity of the experience. So you want to set up that ancestral altar, photos, obituaries, and obituaries are a treasure trove of information. Unfortunately, particularly in the black community, we don't often know people's real name until we see it on the obituary. All we know is ain't so-and-so. We call them by a nickname, and you don't know those names, who the siblings are, various members of the family. Also, if you're blessed enough to build these connections with your grandparents and older people in your family, personal items can also keep that energy present. And it's very interesting that certain people within the family are chosen by spirit to have these items.
Yeah.
So if you're not that person, you want to build that bridge with the person. Your personal altar should be you. From if you have baby pictures, childhood pictures, you want the whole spectrum, because indeed we exist multi-dimensionally right here now in the present. So you want to continue to heal the past, to call on the past, to draw on the past, but also feed the future. So you want to have that on your individual altar, whatever your specific religious path is. And if, as you've noticed, I've been very careful not to specify that. That's not the purpose of my show. It's not to choose that for people. I have Christians who listen to me. I have Rastafarians who listen to me. I have Ifas and Yorubas and Hoodoos that listen to me. And I think this information, I know that this information is useful across the board. So on your personal altar, whatever your personal guides are, your personal books, if you're working with crystals, your implements, you want to have those on your personal altar. If you're dealing with your bills, your finances, I tend to keep those around my personal altar, separate from my deities, from my Orisha and my Lawa, which I generally work with other people with. As a healer, and you weren't very specific about what you do, but as a healer, you also want to have a separate space for your client work. And I have that in a space within my office where I focalize energy on my clients.
Oh, it's one of those things that is like spoken and know it, but it's not active where it's set up. You know what I mean? The healer, it's something that I know. One of my mother's grandmother's grandmother, or mother's great-great-grandmother, she's a Native American Cherokee, and it came through her about 4 years ago. And she's passed on too, but that's where it come through. But it's not like I have clients or anything. This is just a knowing thing. It's not a doubt. People in passing, work, job, grocery store, it's just there, but it's not something that I do for a living. Yeah.
Be open to that.
I will.
We started the conversation out sort of in that realm, and I'm sure you heard. If God sends you, He'll pay your fare. If we were in a more natural, organic society, all of us would be doing that which the divine creators have brought us here to do, and we would be able to live and survive and to eat and have housing. And as we look back in indigenous societies, particularly